Dear students, myself V.K. Tiwari, physics lecturer. I have an experience of 30 years to teach physics to classes 11th and 12th up to foundation level. Today I am going to begin the very first unit of physics for class 12th, that is electrostatics. Electrostatics means the study of charge at rest is called electrostatics. This unit has a weightage of 8 marks out of 70, and this unit includes 4 lessons named Coulomb's law, electric field and potential, Gauss theorem, and electrical capacitance. Listen once again. The weightage of this unit is of 8 marks out of 70, and there are 4 chapters, 4 lessons in this unit: Coulomb's law, electric field and potential, Gauss theorem, and electrical capacitance. The name of first lesson is Coulomb's law. And students, I think you have rough idea about Coulomb's law. I don't want to go in full detail, but I think you know Coulomb's law is related with the force between 2 charges. That force is called electrostatic force. Remember, the electrostatic force between 2 charges is called Coulombian force, and Coulomb gave a law how to calculate the numerical value of electrostatic force acting between 2 charges. Charges are of 2 types: positive charge, negative charge. Similar charges repel each other and opposite charges attract each other. Before studying Coulomb's law, let us learn something about what is charge. What is charge? So in simple sentence, what we can say, charge is that property associated with the matter. Charge is the property associated with the matter due to which it produces and experiences electrical and magnetic effects. Experimentally, it is observed that there are certain pairs like glass rod, silk, ebonite, flalan, comb, dry hair. These are the pairs which, when rubbed together, then the property of attracting light bodies is developed in these materials. The cause due to which this property of attracting light objects like pieces of paper is developed called charge. Charge can be produced by 2 ways. Number 1, by friction. Number 2, by induction or conduction. In friction, when we rub 2 materials, then the charge developed is called frictional charge, and that charge developed remains static, so called static charge. According to modern concept, material is made up of atoms. Atom has a central positive nucleus. Around the nucleus, negatively charged electrons revolve in different orbits. Nucleus is positive due to presence of positively charged protons, and electrons are negatively charged particles revolve around the nucleus. And remember, the number of electrons is such that the total negative charge of electrons is equal to positive charge of the nucleus, so atom is electrically neutral. Atom has net charge 0. Atom has two types of charges, positive charge in the nucleus and negative charge due to revolving electrons, but net charge is 0. So the atom is neutral. Since matter is composed of such type of atoms, therefore matter is also neutral. Now when the two materials, when the two bodies rubbed together, then what happens? Some electrons from the outer cells are transferred from one body to other. Electron is a negatively charged particle. So from where electrons are transferred, the body becomes positively charged, and the body at which electrons are assembled becomes negatively charged. So remember, if there is shortage of electrons, the body is positively charged, and if there is an excess of electrons, then the body is negatively charged. Here are two bodies, A and B. Before rubbing, net charge on body A is 0, also on body B is 0, therefore total charge is 0. Now suppose when A is rubbed with B, n electrons are transferred from A to B. Then the body A becomes positively charged, having charge plus Ne, and body B becomes negatively charged, having charge minus N. Point to remember is that before rubbing, total charge on body A and B was 0, and when they are rubbed and transfer of electrons has been taken place, then the charge, positive charge developed on A is equal but opposite to that the charge developed at B. Therefore again total charge is 0. Most remarkable point is that electron is a negatively charged particle. Charge on electron is minus 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. Mass of electron is 9.1 into 10 to the power minus 31 kg. When electrons are transferred from A to B, it means negative charge is transferred from A towards B. So the body is negatively charged, but at the same time mass is also transferred from A to B. So the mass of A decreases, on the other hand mass of B increases. Therefore, if M1 and M2, if M1 and M2 are the masses of A and B before rubbing, then after transfer of electrons, mass of A will be M1 minus delta M, and mass of B will be M2 plus delta M. So remember, when the body is being positively charged, then remember electrons are transferred. So mass of the body is decreases and mass of body B increases. Now when we take, let us take two glass rods rubbed with silk and suspend them freely, they repel each other. When we take ebonite rods rubbed with cat skin, they also repel. But what is observed when one rod of glass rubbed with silk and other rod of ebonite rubbed with cat skin are suspended, then they attract. It means charge developed on glass rod is one type, charge developed on ebonite rods is of other type, but charge developed on glass rod and that developed on ebonite rod are opposite. So, when the two bodies have similar charge, then they repel each other, and when the bodies have opposite charge, then they attract each other. Now, unit of charge. There are three units of charge. Number one, Coulomb. Number two, EMU of charge, electromagnetic unit of charge. Number three, ESU of charge, electrostatic unit of charge. Listen once again. There are three units of charge: Coulomb, EMU of charge, ESU of charge. EMU means electromagnetic unit of charge. ESU means electrostatic unit of charge. Now here let us see the relation in them. 1 coulomb equal to 1 by 10 EMU of charge, and 1 coulomb is equal to 3 into 10 to the power 9 ESU of charge. This is also called state coulomb. There are few properties of charge. The properties are: charge is scalar, so it can be added algebraically. If we have two bodies, if we have two charges, plus 10 microcoulomb and plus 5 microcoulomb, then the total charge is 15 microcoulomb. So it is added algebraically, so the charge is scalar. Number second, charge is transferable. Number third, charge is quantized. Quantized means charge can have definite and discrete values. I told you, when two bodies are rubbed, then the charge is produced due to transfer of electron. Half electron cannot be transferred. Therefore, either there will be transfer of 1 electron or 2 electron, 3 electron and so on. So the charge developed will be plus E or minus E, plus 2E or minus 2E, plus 3E or minus 3E. It means charge is possible in the multiples of E. Therefore, it is called quantized. Small e means 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. Charge on electron is negative and charge on proton is positive but have the same value. So the charge is possible in the multiples of E. So it is called quantized. And number 4, charge is conserved. On an isolated system of bodies, net charge neither can be increased nor can be decreased. What we can say in other words? Charge remains constant. Net charge remains constant, remains same. This is called law of conservation of charge. Now let us take few examples how the charge remains conserved. Here is uranium 92-238. When alpha particle is emitted from uranium, then it is converted into thorium. Now before emission of alpha particle, charge on uranium nucleus is 92 into P. E means charge on proton, and 92 is the atomic number. It means number of protons in the nucleus is 92. When multiplied by E, this is the charge. So before emission of alpha particle, charge on uranium nucleus is 92 E. After emission of alpha particle, charge on right side 2e plus 90 equal to 92e. So what we can say, charge before emission of alpha particle is equal to charge after emission of alpha particle, so it remains conserved. Number second, when beta particle is emitted from thorium, it is converted into protoactinium. Thorium 90-34. When beta particle is emitted, then protoactinium is formed having atomic number 91. Atomic number is increased by 1 and beta particle is emitted along with antineutrino. So before emission of beta particle, the charge is 90e, and after emission of beta particle on right side charge is 91e plus minus e. So again charge is 90. Now let us take very special example. When positron plus 1 beta 0 is positron, minus 1 beta 0 is beta particle, it is a negatively charged particle, so sometimes it is called negatron. At the same time, when minus 1 beta 0 is named as negatron, therefore plus 1 beta 0 is named as positron. So these reactions are more informative. When beta particle is emitted, then with the beta particle antineutrino is also emitted, and during emission of positron from the nucleus, neutrino is emitted. Now when positron is emitted from phosphorus, it is converted into silicon. Before emission of positron, the charge on phosphorus nucleus is 15e, and after emission of beta particle, the total charge is 14e plus e equal to 15e. Here is another best example to verify law of conservation of charge is that pair production. This is the nucleus. When energetic gamma ray photon strikes with the nucleus, then a pair of particles, positron and beta particle, are emitted. This phenomena is called pair production. The reaction is written here: gamma equal to minus 1 beta 0 plus 1 beta 0. Before pair production, in left side charge is 0, and on the right side again minus e plus e equal to 0. Therefore, net charge neither can be created nor can be destroyed, but it remains conserved. It remains constant. This is called law of conservation of charge. Now here is very special point to show pair production. When energetic gamma photon strikes with the nucleus, then I told you a pair of particles, positron and beta particle, are emitted. Applying Einstein's mass energy relation, delta E equal to delta M into C square, putting the value of delta M, mass of positron or electron, and putting the value of speed of light, we can calculate, and that calculation shows that minimum energy of positron or beta particle is 0.51 MeV. This is the minimum energy with which these particles are emitted, and this energy is given by gamma photon. So the total energy 0.51 plus 0.51 MeV equal to 1.02 MeV. So to show pair production, the minimum energy of gamma ray photon should be 1.02 MeV. If photon has energy less than this, then it cannot show pair production, but it can show Compton effect. Remember, Compton effect. When gamma ray photon has energy less than 1.02 MeV, then it cannot show pair production, it can show only Compton effect. So remember the minimum energy, this is the additional information I am given to you, that gamma ray photon, the minimum energy of gamma ray photon should be 1.02 MeV to show pair production. Now, one question I am leaving to you. Try to understand, when gamma ray photon strikes with the nucleus, then I told you both positron and beta particles have same energy, 0.51 MeV and 0.51 MeV. But in fact, this is not 100% correct. Now it is up to you to see what is wrong and what should be their correction. Both particles, positron and beta particles, will have equal energy, or someone will have more or less energy. Now I told you something about charge, how is the charge, how the charge is produced, what are the units of charge, properties of charge, what is charge on electron, what is mass of electron, what is the effect on mass by charging a body. Many things I told you. Now Coulomb's law. Coulomb's law. Dear students, when two charges, Coulomb's law gives the numerical value of electrostatic force acting between two charges. Electrostatic, numerical value. We say when the two charges, they repel each other. When the two charges are opposite in nature, they attract each other. So by the nature of charges, what we can say, either they will repel or attract. But with what force? What will be the numerical value of that repulsive or attractive force? That numerical value of attractive or repulsive force is determined by Coulomb's law. And Coulomb's law states that if there are 2 point charges Q1 and Q2 separated by a distance r, then experimentally it is seen that the electrostatic force between them is directly proportional to the product of magnitude of charges. Number 2, the force between two charges is inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. So remember, charge is proportional to product of the magnitudes of charges. If magnitude of charges increases, then the force will increase. On the other hand, force is inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. Therefore, when the distance between the charges increases, then the force between the charges will decrease. Now combining the two, F is proportional to Q1 Q2 upon R square. Now here are two cases. When we remove the sign of proportion, constant is included. So F equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 Q1 Q2 upon R square. Number 2, F equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 Q1 Q epsilon 0 K Q1 Q2 upon R square. In the first case, here is not K. In the first case, F equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 Q1 Q2 upon R square. This is the case when the charges are placed in vacuum or free space, and this is the case force when the two charges are placed in some medium. So remember, K is related to medium. K is called dielectric constant of the medium. Epsilon 0 is called permittivity of free space. Now the second case can also be written as F equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 Q1 Q2 upon R square. Here epsilon is the permittivity of that medium whose dielectric constant is K. So written as epsilon equal to epsilon naught K. If we calculate from this K equal to epsilon upon epsilon naught, epsilon upon epsilon naught is denoted by epsilon suffix R. So let us once again try to understand, try to learn the names of these quantities. Epsilon 0, permittivity of free space. Epsilon, permittivity of medium. K, dielectric constant medium K equal to epsilon upon epsilon naught. When we divide the permittivity of medium by permittivity of free space, we get epsilon suffix r. This is called relative permittivity. Relative permittivity. So dielectric constant and relative permittivity, both these are same. And remember, the unit of epsilon and epsilon 0 is same. Therefore, there is no unit of K or epsilon naught. Now K is dielectric constant of medium. Remember, K is always greater than 1. It cannot be negative. For air or vacuum, K equal to 1. For conductors, K equal to infinity. Epsilon 0, once again, I want to tell you, permittivity of free space. Epsilon is the permittivity of medium. Now let us see the unit of, let us find the unit of epsilon 0. F equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 q1 q2 upon r square. From this formula, we find epsilon naught. Epsilon naught equal to q1 q2 upon 4 pi fr square. Unit of this q1 is coulomb. Again coulomb, force Newton, r distance. So coulomb into coulomb upon Newton meter square. So the unit of epsilon naught is coulomb square upon Newton meter square. The numerical value of epsilon naught is 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12. Remember, 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12 coulomb square upon Newton meter square. The value of 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught is equal to 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton meter square per coulomb square. K is called relative permittivity. I told you earlier, epsilon upon epsilon naught equal to epsilon naught, no unit. Now dimension of epsilon naught. As you know, I equal to Q by T. Therefore, Q equal to IT. From the relation Q equal to IT, coulomb, dimension of coulomb is dimension of I and dimension of T. Dimension of I is A, ampere A. Dimension of time is T. So the dimension of coulomb is AT. A means ampere, T means time. Therefore, with the help of this unit, we can find the dimension of epsilon naught. Here is written coulomb square upon Newton meter square. So coulomb means 80 whole square upon Newton, dimension of Newton m l t minus 2, dimension of distance square l square. Arranging, we shall get the dimension of epsilon naught, that is m minus 1 l minus 3 t4 a square.